Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tarnished Bronze. We are getting right into it now with part three and the final part of the Dumpster Killer. This is Batman 422. This is Batman with his bat knife, and it's brought to us by Big Jim Starlin, Doc Bright, and Steve Mitchell. Now, Doc Bright does a lot of work for DC down the line, and Steve Mitchell will, of course, team with Big Norm Brayfogle on the great run with Alan Grant. Now, superb cover, just fantastic cover, almost another power comic cover by Bingham. And getting into the episode, we're gonna have the villain's eye view pretty much throughout this episode. So we've got our main sort of antagonist Carl, and we've got Batman, and we've got the repeated motifs with our close up and repeated panels going through here. We've got a little bit of a conversation with the Commissioner Gordon, Jason Todd as Robin, and Batman, and basically Carl, our main villain, is just gonna drive the inner monologue throughout most of the issue, and it's really really refreshing. This three issue sort of mini arc just sets up so much. It sets up Jason Todd going over the edge even more than what he has been portrayed thus far. It's got the absolute fraying of Batman's psyche as he realizes that his one man war on crime, or his two-man war on crime with Robin, or his three-man war on crime with Commissioner Gordon just isn't going to cut it. And Doc Bright brings these beautiful panels. You notice the red and the blue, really shining through these contrasting colors across these pages. Something is rotten in the heart of Gotham City. And Carl's basically just, I'm going to do this again. I'm gonna get out of, I've got to get out of here. I've got to stop Batman from following me. I might have been able to fool the police once, but it's just his inner monologue is just really, really good at trying to avoid all of these issues. And can't get rid of Batman. It's really sort of, you get the, like I said, this villain's eye view. It's quite perceptive. You don't exactly root for the villain, but it kind of keeps building this tension. Really sort of excellent stuff. And this panel punching through the mirror, absolutely sensational. Kind of interesting, like on that comment of law versus justice. He gets assaulted, and then he's out of the bandages and out of any sort of custodial interaction with the justice system. Pretty quick, smart. His case is dismissed. He's back out on the streets. He's doing the same thing again, and he's getting his "that ain't a knife, this is a knife" Crocodile Dundee thing going on, and you know there's this lady who's hanging around in the background. We get some more sort of just villainous planning, sort of this meticulous like drive that he has in many ways. Our killer Carl kind of mirrors Batman. He's got this drive. They both are. Batman is obsessed. Carl has kind of become obsessed with these killings over time. He's going to sort of, that's all going to come to a head. Meanwhile, we've got this great scene where Robin is starting to really escalate his antisocial behaviors that he had before he was Robin, and now just becoming part of his regular vigilantism. Now, this pimp sort of guy isn't a really fantastic person, but I mean, Robin is just really going quite nuts here. It's kind of it's not the Dickie Bird, it's not the Dick Grayson Robin that everyone's used to. Now, again, we have this character who we later reveal is called Judy, and her interaction with our main villain Carl and stuff is going to be sort of like revealed at the end. But I love how Doc Bright is making this world look lived in. Like, Carl is living in a pretty shitty place. It seems like this other lady, Judy, at least has a nice kind of walk up there. We're really starting to inhabit a world, and it's kind of a great world building thing that Jim Starlin does, and he doesn't waste all this time building the world with Doc Bright. It's happening all in the background, and that's what I like. You don't want to read issue after issue of building. You want to get some resolution. And now here we start to have a resolution. Remember, we started these issues in the dumpster killings. We started the whole dumpster killing saga with a garbage bin and a body, and maybe we're going to end it there. Judy doesn't really like her interaction with Carl, and she takes matters into her own hands. And now Carl, instead of being the predator in the alleys and byways and back blocks of Gotham City, he's now the prey. And he is bleeding out in the middle of a street. I love this up look on the top left. He's just, all of his victims are just going through in this sort of like sort of cascade of memories. And the last thing he's just thinking of is like they finally got one over him. And then this is a fantastic, fantastic page. It just conveys everything that you would want to know. These last panels, his last dying breath is he's remembering all of these victims. And then you see that there's not that much sadness from any of Gotham City's finest and Batman towards the end of this tale. And you just see him there, just in a puddle of blood, and the knife has Judy's sort of fingerprints, and she's going to be arrested. But this is just a hell of a panel. Look, the kind of sort of synthesis of storytelling as well as like resolution and the coherence of it, especially with that symmetry. We had the villain in the dead in an alley, and it all started with the original victim dead in an alley. So just a fantastic story. Great stuff. You can pick these issues up pretty easily. I think they were all reprinted. Reprinted as single issues back in the day, so there should be almost a glut of these. These Jim Starlin issues start descending into a farce when it becomes a death in the family and so on and so forth. But prior to that, they're all pretty excellent, except maybe for some interactions with the Millennium crossover. But aside from that, you've also got to give credit to Denny O'Neil, who's just starting on this editorial helming of the Batverse, and he really brings it with Jason Todd, and then later on with Tim, and they kind of walk back a little bit of these Dark Knight Return changes being sort of canonical to Bruce Wayne later on, especially with Tim Drake. He kind of lightens up the Batman character, even though we remember the Nightfall saga and John Paul Valley and all that sort of stuff. It's kind of walked back from being quite so extreme. Anyway, excellent climax, superb art. And I just want to end, like, follow, subscribe, and justice for Judy. And we will see you in the next episode.